Every NBA fan knows the big names, the superstars that dominate the headlines. But what about the players who grind just as hard, make crucial plays, and keep their teams alive, yet somehow remain overlooked? In this video, we're diving deep into the league's most underrated players, the ones you might not hear about enough but deserve every bit of recognition. Let's shine a light on the talents that deserve way more love. Naji Marshall appeared poised to graduate from this discussion upon entering free agency this summer. Surely plenty of teams would line up to pay a 6'7" combo wing who just drained 38.7% of his triples and continues to tackle difficult defensive assignments. Marshall landed with the Dallas Mavericks on a 3-year deal that's closer to the room mid-level exception annually, $8 million than the non-taxpayer MLE $12.8 million. That likely speaks to a shifting financial landscape for the league's working-class players, but that's heavy-handed discussion for another day. Marshall isn't a fringe star hiding in plain sight. He is not particularly explosive, and covering smaller advantage creators can be touch and go for him. But he can rumble with bigger forwards who are more like actual bigs. Paolo Banchero is in primary initiators who rely on changes in pace-shy Gilgeous-Alexander are right in his defensive wheelhouse. The 26-year-old is extremely plug-and-play on offense. Around 70% of his made baskets last season came off assists. You'd like to see him increase his three-point volume. He's at 4.5 attempts per 36 minutes for his career. That's pretty meh. However, Marshall offsets some of the missing quantity with savvy on ball navigation in transition and space. His 49.2% conversion rate on drives, including a 49.1% clip on floaters, speaks to the subtle layers of his armory and is all the more impressive when you consider the spacing environment in which he often worked. Playing in Dallas will be a great gauge of Marshall's value. His skill set is scalable, but can he improve on offense amid better floor balance? The Mavs most likely also have 4 non-negotiables in their closing unit: Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, PJ Washington, and a center. If Marshall is who this exercise suggests he is, he'll be a candidate to round out Dallas' most leaned-upon clutch combos. The 3-year, $21 million contract that Ayo Dosunmu signed with the Chicago Bulls last summer looked like a bargain in real time. It is certified highway robbery now. Exhaustive defense accounted for much of his acclaim entering last year. That remains true now. Standing 6'5" in shoes with a wingspan north of 6'10", Dosunmu can defend both guard spots and scale up to certain wings. And he's not tussling with afterthought covers either. 4 other players this past season split at least 20% of their defensive possessions against 1s, 2s, and 3s and spent about as much time on first and second options as Dosunmu while clearing 2,000 minutes. According to Ball Index, Malik Beasley, Mikal Bridges, Jaylen Brown, and Jaden McDaniels, consistent offense has always been Dosunmu's largest hang-up. Those questions persist, but he noticeably leveled up this past year. His three-point volume still isn't high enough, but his 4.8 attempts per 36 minutes were a career high. Equally important, he nailed his triples at a 40.3% clip, including a 38.1% conversion rate on pull-up trays 16 of 42. Stealing minutes with Dosunmu as a primary or secondary initiator can be a chore. His passing on drives is a weapon, but he's often too deferential, and he's not someone wired to handle slower-paced pick-and-roll orchestration. Chicago started nudging him in the right direction on both fronts by the end of last season, especially during the time Kobe White missed with a hip injury. The returns were mixed, but the heightened aggression and variable usage is a good harbinger. Dosunmu averaged about 3.0 possessions per 36 minutes last season as the pick-and-roll ball handler. Monitoring his development on offense from here is a must. The Bulls appear to have charted a more gradual course this offseason. They also remain chock full of guards, most notably White and Josh Giddey, both of whom will usurp Dosunmu in the initiator pecking order. If Chicago isn't prepared to titrate up the latter's volume, consider this my not-so-veiled way of pleading with other teams to trade for him. Aaron Wiggins might not crack this list, let alone top it, if he were on another team. The Oklahoma City Thunder are so deep that he's yet to log 1,300 minutes in a single season through his first 3 years. Removing Josh Giddey from the rotation could open up some additional run next season, and if the Thunder didn't still have Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, and Lou Dort on the roster as well, repressed playing time could be a problem for many, not Wiggins. He seldom seems like he's struggling to find his rhythm, even when his shots aren't falling. Some might even argue that his low-minutes bench role is responsible for his highest highs. It preserves his energy and manages his matchups at times. That's somewhat fair, but it's also something I'm not inclined to buy. Oklahoma City routinely assigns Wiggins to red carpet defensive assignments. He almost always holds his own. Good luck throwing an entry pass with him in the vicinity. He also has the shot-blocking instincts of a power forward. Wiggins' offense can give off a tweener feel. Is he a potential lead guard? Secondary creator? Score first swingman? Rim pressure remains his calling card. Roughly 52% of his looks came inside of 4 feet last season, a share that rated in the 94th percentile for his position. His finishing isn't always the cleanest, but it's decidedly above average, and he fears challenging approximately no one at the cup. The number of counters in his bag deepens each year. He can break down defenses off the dribble from a dead stop, and when his paths to the hoop are cut off, he can uncork a step back or turn around or fade away or floater or well, you get the point. Wiggins manages to deliver all of this in a package that's not domineering. A smattering of his possessions can feel hijacky, but he's for the most part adept at playing within the flow of Oklahoma City's offense. Exactly 30% of his field goal attempts last season came as catch and shoots, and almost 83% of his made buckets came off assists. In true Oklahoma City fashion, that they can't keep getting away with this. Thunder just signed Wiggins to a 5-year, $45 million contract, a deal that will pay out on a descending scale. Because of course, you knew the agreement would be team-friendly once OKC declined his club option. That number is low even by those standards. Whether Wiggins will ever have the opportunity to expand his role on the Thunder is debatable. The issue of whether he's earned it and capable of it is not.